provide you with the lowest per GB rates, night or day. SLT 4G, driving you ever forward.
Making headlines on First at 9, 10 feet under. As dramatic footage captured in Bhagavantalava show landslide washing mound of earth, both Sri Lankan and Indian Met Department warned of severe weather over Sri Lanka. Slow but satisfactory. TNA MP Sumandiran says government shows slow progress but convinced of positive political solutions. Internal controls in place. While measures are underway to strengthen laws applicable to the central bank, new auction system to be introduced for treasury bills. 2 weeks to respond. Sri Lankan cricket legend charged by ICC with breaching its anti-corruption code. Who is the killer? Saudi king denies any knowledge of journalist Khashoggi killing as international pressure mounts. Turkey to search Saudi consulate. A very good evening to all our viewers who joined us here on First at 9, another Derana 24/7 Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katrina Chang. Now moving on to our top story tonight. Owing to the inclement weather prevailing in the island, a landslide occurred in Bhagavantalava area, damaging 5 houses. However, no residents were injured in the incident. Residents of the area were immediately evacuated. The Met Department of Sri Lanka warns of afternoon thundershowers to begin from tomorrow, with heavy rainfall of over 100 millimeters in several provinces. Meanwhile, the Indian Department of Meteorology warned that the northeast monsoon season will bring its effects to Sri Lanka within a week. Head of the Climate Prediction Group of the Indian Met told First at 9 that the current weather patterns hovering over the Indian Ocean will soon move towards the island.
At around 11:30 this morning, a landslide occurred in Bhagavantalava along the Balanguda-Maskelia main road. Footage of the incident were captured by residents in the area as the mound of earth located 10 feet above Castlereagh Reservoir was seen breaking away. On the 8th of this month, the National Building Research Organisation issued a warning of the threat of landslides in close proximity to the location. As a result, 23 individuals from 5 families were evacuated from the area. Following the incident, Norwood Police took steps to halt vehicular movement along the Bhagavantalava main road today. Speaking to First at 9, Assistant Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipilli confirmed that no one was injured in the incident and requested the public to take alternative routes.
Still, that road from Maskelia area that has been permanently closed, Maskelia Haddon Road, and alternative ways has to be taken by the communities from Castlereagh to Norton Way, and they have to turn from Mount Sakale Junction. So those roads are completely being closed. People are requested to visit that particular area, and all those areas being restricted for the public until further notice. So all other technical agencies are coping with that particular situation, but still there is a danger of having further damages to that particular area.
It was reported that residents of Norwood, Bhagavantalava, Maskelia and Nalatani areas have been inconvenienced as the road has sunk nearly 10 feet owing to the prevailing weather situation. Meanwhile, Minister of Hill Country, New Villages, Infrastructure and Community Development, Palani Digambaram, inspected the location and affirmed that the displaced families will be given necessary relief. As natural disasters brought about by the receding inter-monsoon season is still felt across the island, head of the Climate Prediction Group of the Indian Department of Meteorology, Dr. D.S. Pai, warned that the northeast monsoon season could make landfall in Sri Lanka within a week.
Inter-monsoon starts around the 20th October. So far that has not been established. So maybe in a 1 week or so. northeast monsoon can start. There is a slight difference in the concept between inter-monsoon and the northeast monsoon. The northeast monsoon is yet to start, but that October-November inter-monsoon, that is continuing. But there has been good rainfall over Sri Lanka as well as India because of the cyclone systems which formed over Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal. So we expect northeasterlies to form within 1 week and further increase the rainfall activity thereafter. Generally, northeast monsoon as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, that is, they call it during December, January, February. And Sri Lanka will continue to have increased rainfall once the northeasterlies are established over Indian Sea.
Meanwhile, the Sri Lankan Department of Meteorology warned of enhanced afternoon thundershowers starting tomorrow, while heavy falls of over 100 millimeters is expected in provinces of Central, Uva, Sabaragamuwa, North Central, Western and Northwestern.
President Maithripala Sirisena highlights that Theravada Buddhism has been crucial for strong international relations between Sri Lanka and other nations in the region over the years. The President expressed these views at an event held in Kandy today.
A special ceremony to welcome the chief incumbent of Damulla Rajamahawihara Temple, Venerable Dr. Godagama Mangalathera, who was graced with Thailand's prestigious Dhammachakra Royal Award, was held at the Sri Chandananda Buddhist College in Kandy today. Buddhist clergy, including Chief Prelate of Asgiri Chapter, Most Venerable Varakagoda Sri Gnanaratana Thera, participated in the ceremony that was held under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena. During the event today, President Sirisena was also seen having cordial discussions with former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and parliamentarian S.B. Dissanayaka.
This is an era where Buddhism in Sri Lanka is under threat due to many harmful influences. I ask the current president, former president and all other relevant parties to pay their attention to this matter and provide state sponsorship to prepare against these challenges and to avoid dangers to the religion. Theravada Buddhism was highly influenced in forming strong international relations between Sri Lanka and other countries in the region. This is why I emphasize that this religion was the basis for our regional friendship despite invasion and economic disputes spanning across history.
TNA parliamentarian M.A. Sumandaran admits that the government's progress in providing political solutions to the northern community is slow but definite. Speaking at a media briefing in Jaffna today, the parliamentarian, however, insisted that he will resign from parliament if he fails to see a solution.
The government is working on providing political solutions for the Tamil people. We admit that it has been a slow journey, but we are still moving. I will be a part of this movement until I see a solution. If I fail to do so, I will resign from Parliament and this decision will not change.
MP Sumandaran also commented on the release of political prisoners that drew a whirlwind of comments in recent days.
When we asked the President to hold an immediate meeting, he conveyed to us that he would meet us after the Defence Committee meeting scheduled to be held on the 17th. I do not know if he will provide us a solution on the same day. On the 25th of this month, the TNA, together with the JVP, will bring forth an adjournment motion. It aims to give a clear idea about the issue of political prisoners. We should convey that there are prisoners who have served longer than their prison sentence. We will receive immense support from the Sinhala community if we take this message to them.
The Pivithuru Helorumia today expressed their disappointment over the Attorney General for being negligent regarding the inquiry of former Minister Vijay Kalamaheshwaran, where she made a pro-LTTE statement. The party made this remark at a media briefing held in Colombo today.
We brought to the attention of police headquarters 4 accusations against the brutally bold statement made by former Minister Vijay Kalamaheshwaran. When police prepared their report on a number of such incidents, the Attorney General submitted and concluded upon 6 statements stating that Vijay Kalamaheshwaran had only violated Clause 120 of the Penal Code. Is the clause relevant to the Prevention of Terrorism Act? Consider the circumstances in which her case was taken. Is there anything to be amazed about the immediate release on bail? The AWA group is active, so show objection to that. When military camps were removed day by day, we reminded the Prime Minister not to do so because the camps were set up for the country's security. Now they go abroad and say that they are being received military training in India. Kindly arrest them at the airport itself. A future Prabhakaran might be one among them.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa insists that it is time now to prepare for an election, be it presidential or provincial council polls, as the unity government has reached its final year in power. Addressing the Kandy District Conference of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, the former president also voiced against corruption charges against several ministers regarding the Nilwala River diversion project and electric train project.
They can't postpone the presidential election and should be held next year. Whether it be provincial council election or the presidential election, we must get ready for it. They're going to present the budget proposal for 2019 and let's wait and see if they are going to give concessions to the public. They can give concessions for this year but cut them off come next year. We were labelled thieves while they delivered sanctimonious comments. But now the President himself says that 2 ministers have asked for bribes for the Nilwala diversion project. Some say that 2 ministers are also responsible for demanding bribes to give the go-ahead for the electric train project in Sri Lanka. This allegation is refuted by them. However, the director of the relevant company claims that they wanted bribes along with commissions of 10 to 15%. Time has come for people to topple this government.
Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Peris, claims that independent commissions set up by the 19th Amendment to the Constitution are in fact not independent. Addressing a media briefing in Colombo today, he alleged that the government is in an attempt to postpone the presidential election and called the Election Commission to take stern measures to ensure the people's right to self-determination.
The Election Commission can directly interfere to hold elections. They can go to courts to seek an order to expedite elections if they want to. But this commission doesn't do anything. So what is the use of having such an elections commission? The 19th Amendment is a complete deceit. These commissions set up by way of it are not independent. They just follow government orders. Government's intention is not to hold elections. That is why the 20th Amendment was brought. They do not want to hold presidential elections. We went before the Supreme Court and it was clearly declared by Supreme Court that it cannot be passed without a referendum. The 20th Amendment will see a natural death. Who is to believe that this government will hold a referendum when they have even postponed provincial council polls? But let me stress this, they cannot postpone the presidential election. My colleague, Minister Mahinda Amaravira, says he will reduce the price of rice by 10 rupees. The chairman and the national organizer of the Rice Traders Association says nothing as such was discussed at the meeting. There are practicing laws in this country. Why can't they bring a law under the Consumer Protection Ordinance to reduce the price? They did so for sugar. Then why not for rice? SEMA was set up to protect loss-making local entities from closing down, but SEMA closed down before that. So what is the fate of such companies? During the last presidential election, they ordered to shoot out violators in the head and not below the knee. How can such a commissioner say he cannot hold an election? The order he gave then was a violation of human rights. He behaved like a dictator at that time.
The National Trade Union Centre calls trade unions across the country to join hands in an effort of protest against government inaction to curb effects of the rising cost of living. Convener of the National Trade Union Centre, Vasanta Samarasinghe, has said the protest will be organised on the 23rd of this month in Colombo.
This government impose all the taxes and mechanism to increase cost of living. They don't have any mechanism to increase workers' salary and reduce the cost of living. As a National Trade Union Centre, we support people who are fighting against this government. We call all the workers, public sector, private sector and plantation sector against this government and win our demands. We get together on 23rd of this month.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, The Derana 24/7.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka says it is preparing to introduce a new auction system for treasury bills similar to the one it launched last year for treasury bonds. Issuing a communique to inform progress made on the implementation of the Bond Commission recommendations, CBSL said today that measures are also underway to strengthen several laws applicable to the central bank. Following the report by the Commission of Inquiry that probed the bond scam, Central Bank says it has also set internal controls to strengthen the issuance process.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka today issued a statement to update its progress on implementation of the recommendations of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry on Bonds. The Commission of Inquiry investigated and inquired on the issuance of treasury bonds during the period from February 1, 2015 to March 31, 2016. In line with recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry, CBSL says several measures have been initiated while some have already been implemented to strengthen transparency and accountability in operations. In relation to the legal framework, the regulator says amendments are being formulated to the Monetary Law Act and Registered Stocks and Securities Ordinance. In terms of operations relating to government securities, a new auction system is being formulated for treasury bills. The system will be similar to the new system that was introduced for treasury bonds. Central Bank highlights that the auction calendar is announced in advance and a policy of accepting no more than the total offered amount at auction has been adopted. Meanwhile, the fund management function of the Employees Provident Fund has also been strengthened by a new robust investment policy statement, an investment and trading guideline and an updated operational manual. As per recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry, a whistleblowing policy and a code of conduct for all employees have also been introduced. The central bank statement meanwhile went on to say that a civil recovery action has been filed to recover unlawful gains made by a primary dealer at the expense of funds of the central bank and the Employees Provident Fund. Procurement process for several forensic audits that are to be conducted by entities with a global practice is underway in areas such as investments of a fund in equities and treasury bonds, issuance of treasury bonds and certain operations of selected entities regulated and supervised by Central Bank.
Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Industry and Commerce M.A. Tajuddin insists that regulatory constraints and lack of institutional support are two main challenges faced by the SME sector that should be addressed in order to create an enabling environment sector. Small and medium enterprises contribute to over 40% of Sri Lanka's GDP.
If you take the data of the SME in Sri Lanka, there are 1.2 million total entrepreneurship enterprises existing and operation of this country. This 1.2 is a micro level. 52% of GDP is contributed by the small and medium enterprises. The total 45% of number of employment is given by the SME. 60% of the SMEs facing the challenges to access to finance. We are facing the two types of the challenging to make them enable to do the business. One is the regulatory constraints and challenges. Number two is the institutional support.
Also speaking at the same forum, Director of Education at the Subject Ministry went on to stress that entrepreneurship education must be strongly encouraged.
In 2017, 5,160 students sat for the entrepreneurship subject. 4,540 students passed, and the rate is 87.98. At present, this subject is an optional subject at GCE level, but a further study is needed to find out whether the subject can be made compulsory. If so, more than 300,000 students can be directed to the study this subject. We need to further introduce the subject into the syllabi of College of Education and the teacher training colleges. Through this, we can make a common platform for all the students to study entrepreneurship subject.
Crude oil futures rose in the world market today as geopolitical tensions over the disappearance of a prominent Saudi journalist stoked supply worries, though concerns over the long-term demand outlook dragged on prices. Benchmark Brent crude oil jumped by $1.49 a barrel to a high of $81.92. However, the price settled to $80.83, up 40 cents. The West Energy watchdog, the International Energy Agency, said in a report on Friday that the market looked adequately supplied for now, and the agency cut its forecast for world demand oil growth this year and the next. OPEC, Russia and other oil producers such as US shale companies had increased production sharply since May, raising world crude output by 1.4 million barrels per day. Sri Lanka equities were lower at the close of trade today as losses in the construction and engineering, power and energy and plantation sectors propelled shares losses. At the close in Colombo, the CSE All share fell 0.70% to hit a new 3-year low. Market turnover was 1.9 million rupees. We now have Amanda Lokugamge from First Capital Holdings with a detailed report.
The index ended in red for the 5th straight session, dragged down by HNB and John Keells, recording a near 5-year low. Turnover was recorded near 2 billion rupees, witnessing 2 months high, and nearly 84% was derived from Singer. Partial trades were witnessed on Cargill's and Singer.
The Sri Lankan rupee ended 0.7% weaker today as banks and importers brought the dollar. The rupee ended at 170 rupees and 60 cents to 75 cents per dollar, compared with the previous close of 169 rupees and 40 cents to 70 cents. The Sri Lankan rupee fell to an all-time low of 171 rupees and 60 cents per dollar on Wednesday, surpassing the previous low of 171 hit on Tuesday due to foreign selling in government securities and exporter greenback sales. We now have today's foreign currency rates. On international news tonight, US President Donald Trump has suggested rogue killers could be behind the disappearance of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi in Turkey. Speaking to reporters after a phone call with Saudi King Salman, he said the Saudi leader had firmly denied knowing of what had happened to Khashoggi. Saudi and Turkish investigators are due to search the Saudi consulate where Khashoggi was last seen. Turkish officials believe Khashoggi was murdered in the consulate by Saudi agents nearly 2 weeks ago. The issue has strained Saudi Arabia's ties with its closest Western allies. Meanwhile, earlier today, Saudi Arabia warned against threats to punish it over the journalist's disappearance. US President Donald Trump threatened severe punishment if it turns out Khashoggi was killed in the consulate, though he said Washington would be punishing itself if it halted military sales to Riyadh. The Saudi press agency quotes an unnamed official as saying the kingdom affirms that if it receives any action, it will respond with great action, adding that the kingdom's economy has an influential and vital role in the global economy. North and South Korea agreed today to begin reconnecting rail and road links that have been cut since the 1950 to 1953 Korean War. The agreement aims at following up on the third summit this year between South Korea's President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un last month. The agreement on improving transport links between the two Koreas, which came during talks in the border village of Panmunjom, is seen as another step in an improving relationship that has raised US concern about the possible undermining of its bid to press the North to give up its nuclear program. According to the joint statement, the two sides will carry out field studies jointly from late this month and have also agreed to discuss a plan to pursue a bid to co-host the 2032 Olympic Games. Talks between the two Koreas are running in parallel with US efforts to press North Korea to give up nuclear weapons and missiles, and Trump said South Korea would not lift sanctions on North Korea without US approval. We have more international news in brief.
The bodies of 9 climbers who died when a violent snowstorm destroyed their camp on a Himalayan peak in Nepal have been retrieved. The 5 South Koreans and 4 Nepali guides were found scattered across the base camp near Mount Gurja, a 23,600 feet high peak, in the worst climbing accident to hit Nepal in 2 years. The Greek Ministry of Migration Policy announced that it will establish a transfer station in North Greece's Thessaloniki for the temporary resettlement of refugees. The move is aimed to cope with the situation that refugees are taking shelter in public spaces so as to maintain social order. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe reviewed Japanese self-defense forces yesterday, pledging to enhance the nation's defense capabilities during an annual military parade at Asaka Base Camp. Over 4,000 SDF troops marched and saluted to the newly chosen Japanese Defense Minister Takeshi Iwaya and Shinzo Abe. Britain's Kensington Palace announced today that the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan, is expecting her first child with Prince Harry. The announcement comes 5 months after the couple wed in a star-studded ceremony at Windsor Castle. She is due to give birth next spring to the 7th in line to the throne.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, THERAVADA 24/7.
Former Sri Lanka captain Sana Jayasuriya has been charged by the International Cricket Council with 2 breaches of its anti-corruption code. The 49-year-old former all-rounder is accused of failing to cooperate with an investigation by the cricket governing body. He is also charged with obstructing the investigation by concealing, tampering with or destroying evidence. He has been given a period of 14 days to respond to these charges. Jayasuriya, former chair of the Sri Lanka Selectors Committee, is regarded as one of the greatest one-day players. Sri Lanka para-athletes who participated in the 3rd edition of the Asian Para Games returned to the island yesterday, bringing home 14 medals. Sri Lankan para-athletes were able to secure the highest number of medals to be won by Sri Lankans at the Games history.
Among the 42 countries that participated at the 3rd Asian Para Games, Sri Lanka was placed 14th with a medal tally of 14. This included 4 gold medals, 6 silver and 4 bronze. Para-sprinter Amila Prasanna won 2 gold medals for the country. Dinesh Priyantha, who led the Sri Lankan team at the Games, secured gold in javelin throw, while Nirmala Buddhika clinched gold in long jump. This was the highest number of medals won by Sri Lanka at an Asian Para Games. The 4th Asian Para Games is scheduled to be held in China in 2022.
Secretary General of Basketball's world governing body Patrick Baumann, who was seen as a potential International Olympic Committee president, has died. Baumann is thought to have suffered a heart attack while attending the Youth Olympics in Buenos Aires, Argentina. The Swiss national, who was influential in Olympic circles, was a former player, coach and referee who first joined FIBA as a lawyer in 1994 and was then appointed Secretary General in 2002.
A very good evening everyone and welcome to Forecast First. Although effects of the cyclonic storm surrounding Sri Lanka have passed over the island, the prevailing intermonsoonal season can bring showers or thunder showers at times. Temperatures are at their milder levels with the highest of 30 degrees Celsius expected in Jaffna and Batticaloa tomorrow. The lowest temperature can of course be expected in the central hills at 20 degrees. The meteorology department, however, forecast showers and thunder showers across all districts in the next 24 hours, and heavy falls of about 100 millimeters can be expected in the central, Uva, Sabaragamuwa, north central, western and northwestern provinces. So don't forget to carry your umbrella. That's all that we have from the Weather Center tonight. Here's a look at your city by city weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Before we go, we'd like to take you to Untitled Beach, one of the most famous beaches and tourist attractions in southern Sri Lanka. Untitled Beach stretches for nearly a mile in the southern tip, and its bay beach was named the best beach in the world by Discovery Television channel. It was also among the 100 best beaches according to CNN last year. We hope you enjoy these visuals and have a pleasant evening.
bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, THERAVADA 24/7.